The great hall stretched across the sky like a crystal palace. It floated high above the gas giant Nexus Prime, where purple storms swirled endlessly below. Inside the hall, 12 different alien races sat around a massive circular table. Each representative looked different from the others. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few seemed to be made of living rock. Council Speaker Veltar stood at the center of the table. His body was tall and thin, almost like smoke given form. His people, the Ethereal Collective, had ruled the galaxy for over 3,000 years. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of ancient authority. "We gathered today to discuss a growing problem," Veltar announced. His words echoed through the hall. "The species called humans have been expanding too quickly. They are taking territory that belongs to established civilizations." A creature that looked like a walking crystal raised one of its sharp arms. This was Quartzian Prime Krextal, speaker for the silicon-based Quartzians. When he spoke, his voice sounded like grinding stones. "The humans are primitive," Krextal said. "They still use simple rockets to travel between stars. Their weapons are basic metal projectiles and fusion bombs, nothing more advanced than what we had 5,000 years ago." Around the table, heads nodded in agreement. The Zephyrians, with their bird-like features and golden feathers, chirped their approval. The massive hegemony representatives, built like walking tanks, rumbled their consent. Even the small Grey Watchers blinked their large eyes in agreement. Zephyrian war singer Kyleth spread her wings and spoke. "Our scouts have observed their colonies. They build crude shelters and mine resources with primitive tools. They have no energy shields, no plasma weapons, no gravity manipulators. How did such a backward species spread so far?" "Numbers," replied Veltar. "They reproduce quickly and are willing to live in harsh conditions. They settle on worlds that other species consider worthless, but now they are claiming space near our established territories." The hegemony Admiral Kethmore leaned forward. His massive frame cast shadows across the table. His species looked like humanoid bears covered in dark metal armor that grew from their skin. When he spoke, his voice was deep and commanding. "My fleets patrol the borders," Kethmore said. "Human ships avoid our vessels, but they continue to build outposts in contested regions. They do not respond to our warning signals. They pretend not to understand our universal translation protocols." A few council members shifted uncomfortably. The Monitoring Guild's intelligence coordinator, Zixana, was a small insect-like creature with compound eyes. She clicked her mandibles before speaking. "Our long-range sensors show human technology has not advanced significantly in decades," she reported. "They still use chemical propulsion for most travel. Their communication systems are electromagnetic radiation-based. Their largest weapons are fusion-based. By all measurements, they are at least 800 years behind Council standard technology." Veltar's smoky form rippled with satisfaction. "Then we are in agreement. These humans have overextended themselves. They have grown bold because no one has challenged them. It is time to remind them of their place in the galactic order." The Quartzian representative struck the table with his crystal fist. The sound rang like a bell through the hall. "I propose we send a pacification fleet, a simple show of force. When humans see our superior technology, they will surrender immediately." "How large a fleet?" asked Kyleth. "Surely we do not need much to intimidate such primitive beings." Admiral Kethmore stood to his full impressive height. 200 ships should be more than adequate. A standard subjugation force. My ships carry plasma cannons that can crack planets. Our shields can deflect anything humans might throw at us. Their crude metal bullets will bounce off our hulls like raindrops." The council members looked at each other. Some whispered among themselves in their native languages. The translation systems filled the air with soft electronic sounds, as different conversations were converted into common speech. "What are our terms?" asked a representative from the collective minds, a species that looked like floating jellyfish made of light. Veltar gestured, and a holographic display appeared above the table. It showed star charts with human settlements marked in red dots. There were more red dots than many council members had expected. "Simple terms," Veltar explained. "Humans will withdraw from all contested territories. They will limit their expansion to a designated zone. They will accept council oversight of their technology development, and they will pay tribute for their aggressive expansion." "And if they refuse?" asked Krextal. Kethmore's armored face showed what might have been a smile. "Then we demonstrate the consequences of defying galactic order. We destroy a few military installations. We blockade their trade routes. Humans are practical creatures. They will see reason quickly, the vote was called. One by one, each species cast their decision into the central display. The results appeared as colored lights. Green for approval, red for opposition. Green lights filled the display completely. The vote was unanimous. It is decided, Veltar announced. Admiral Kethamor will lead a pacification fleet to human space. You will deliver our terms and ensure compliance. Use whatever force is necessary, but remember, we are a civilized council. We seek order, not destruction. Kethamor bowed deeply. It will be an honor to serve. The humans will learn their place in the galaxy. I estimate the entire operation will take no more than 2 weeks. Most species surrender within hours of seeing our fleet. As the council meeting ended, representatives began filing out of the Great Hall. They chatted casually among themselves, already planning other business. Some discussed trade routes, others talked about upcoming cultural exchanges. A few made plans for vacation trips to pleasure worlds. None of them seemed concerned about the decision they had just made. To them, this was routine business. Throughout galactic history, the council had faced dozens of aggressive young species. The pattern was always the same. A show of superior force followed by quick surrender and integration into the galactic order. Veltar remained in the hall after the others left. He floated near the great windows looking out at the storm-covered planet below. His people had evolved beyond physical form eons ago, but they still appreciated beauty. The purple storms were particularly striking today. His assistant, a younger ethereal named Mistaval, approached quietly. Do you have concerns about this operation, Speaker? Veltar's form shifted slightly, which was the ethereal equivalent of a shrug. No more than usual. The humans may resist initially. Young species often do. But they will see reason when faced with superior technology. They always do. The intelligence reports suggest humans are unusually stubborn, Mistaval observed. Stubbornness means nothing against plasma cannons, Veltar replied. Admiral Kethamor's fleet could destroy their entire civilization if necessary. But it will not come to that. Humans are not stupid. They will recognize when they are outmatched. Far below them, the storms of Nexus Prime continued their eternal dance. The gas giant had no solid surface, only endless layers of atmosphere stretching down into crushing darkness. It was a fitting metaphor, Veltar thought, for the depth of council power. In 3 days, Admiral Kethamor's fleet would depart for human space. Within a week after that, the human problem would be resolved. The galaxy would return to its proper order, with the council maintaining peace through superior strength. Veltar had no way of knowing that his decision had just set in motion events that would shatter everything the council thought. They knew about power, technology, and the true nature of humanity. Admiral Kethamor stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Iron Dominance. Around him, his crew worked at control stations that glowed with soft blue light. The ship was massive, stretching over 2 kilometers from front to back. Its hull was made of compressed metallic compounds that could withstand the heat of a star. Behind the Iron Dominance, 199 other council ships traveled in perfect formation. Each vessel was a masterpiece of galactic engineering. They carried weapons that could level mountains and shields that could deflect meteor storms. This was the largest fleet assembled in over 50 years, dropping out of hyperspace in 30 seconds, reported Navigation Officer Trenko. Like all hegemony military personnel, he was built like a walking fortress, his natural armor gleaming under the bridge lights. Kethamor nodded. Signal all ships. Standard intimidation formation. I want the humans to see our full strength the moment we arrive. The stars outside shifted and blurred as the fleet dropped back into normal space at the edge of Earth's solar system. Kethamor expected to see a few scattered human outposts and perhaps some primitive patrol craft. What appeared on his screens made him pause. Sensor officer, report, he ordered. The sensor station was operated by a multi-armed creature from the Monitoring Guild. Its compound eyes reflected the data displays as it worked. Admiral, I am detecting significant artificial activity throughout this system. Define significant. Over 12,000 artificial objects. Stations, platforms, moving vessels. The entire system appears to be developed. Kethamor moved to the central display screen. The solar system appeared as a 3-dimensional map filled with tiny dots representing artificial objects. There were far too many dots. This cannot be correct, Kethamor said. Human technology is primitive. They should have a few crude space stations at most. Sir, the readings are confirmed. Multiple sensor arrays agree. There are also energy signatures I do not recognize. Before Kethmore could respond, his communications officer spoke up. This was a Zephyrian with silver feathers, selected for her species' natural talent with electronic signals. Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the third planet. They are using standard galactic communication protocols. Kethmore was surprised. Intelligence reports indicated humans barely understood faster-than-light communication. Put it through. The main screen flickered and showed a human face. The creature looked remarkably similar to several galactic species, with 2 eyes, 1 nose, and 1 mouth. Its skin was pale brown and its hair was dark. It wore what appeared to be a military uniform. Unknown vessels, this is Commander Sarah Chen of Sol Defense Command. Please state your intentions and purpose in this system. The human spoke in perfect galactic standard language. This was also unexpected. Kethmore had prepared translators to convert his ultimatum into primitive human languages. Kethmore stepped forward, his massive frame filling the transmission pickup. When he spoke, his voice carried all the authority of the Council's military might. I'm Admiral Kethmore of the Galactic Council Fleet. You will surrender immediately, and prepare to receive Council representatives. Your species has violated territorial agreements and must face consequences. Comply now and casualties will be minimal. The human's face remained calm. She seemed to consider his words carefully before responding. Thank you for the warning, Admiral. Please stand by while we prepare our response. The transmission ended. Kethmore stared at the blank screen in confusion. The human had not seemed afraid. She had not begged for mercy or asked for negotiations. She had simply said, stand by. What kind of response could they possibly prepare? Wondered the communications officer. Kethmore's answer came faster than he expected. The sensor officer's voice rose in alarm. Admiral, new contacts appearing throughout the system. They seem to be emerging from nowhere. On the tactical display, new red dots began appearing by the dozens, then by the hundreds. Human ships materialized around Council positions as if they had been invisible before. Some appeared directly behind Council vessels. Others emerged from empty space that sensors had read as clear just moments before. How is this possible? Kethmore demanded. Where did they come from? Unknown, sir. The ships appear to have some form of advanced cloaking technology. They were there all along, but our sensors could not detect them. Kethmore studied the display. The human ships were not the crude chemical rockets described in intelligence reports. These vessels moved with impossible smoothness and grace. Their designs were sleek and organic-looking, unlike the angular military ships favored by most galactic civilizations. Sir, called the weapons officer, the human ships are powering up what appear to be weapons systems. Energy readings are unusual. Unusual how? They do not match any known weapon signatures in our databases. The power output is also significantly higher than expected for ships of this size. Kethmore made his decision. All ships, battle formation? Charge weapons and raise shields. Show these humans what they face when they challenge the Council. The Council fleet moved into attack position. 200 warships arranged themselves in a classic intimidation display, their weapons glowing with barely contained energy. Shield generators created shimmering barriers around each vessel. The human response was immediate and devastating. Beams of pure white light lanced out from human ships, striking Council vessels with surgical precision. Where the beams touched Council shields, the energy barriers simply vanished as if they had never existed. The beams continued through hull armor, cutting clean holes through ships that had been designed to survive direct hits from plasma cannons. Shields are down, reported the defensive systems officer. All ships reporting shield failures. How is that possible? Kethmore shouted over the alarms now blaring throughout his ship. Unknown. The human weapons appear to disrupt the quantum fields that generate our shields. The iron dominance shook as a human beam weapon struck its port side. The beam burned through the ship's outer armor like it was paper, creating a perfectly round hole 30 meters wide. Emergency systems sealed the breach, but similar hits were striking Council ships throughout the fleet. Return fire, Kethmore ordered. Council plasma cannons opened up, sending streams of superheated matter toward human ships. The humans responded by simply moving out of the way. Their vessels accelerated and changed direction in ways that seemed to ignore basic physics. They moved like living things, flowing around incoming fire with impossible grace. Sir, our targeting systems cannot lock onto the human ships. They are moving too fast and changing direction too rapidly. More human weapons fired. This time they did not aim to kill. Instead, they precisely targeted Council weapon systems and engines. Ship after ship found itself crippled but not destroyed, floating helpless as human vessels surrounded them. The battle lasted less than 10 minutes. When it ended, 70% of Kethmore's fleet was either destroyed or disabled. The remaining ships, including his own flagship, were surrounded by human vessels that could apparently destroy them at will. The communication screen activated again, showing the same calm human face. "Admiral Kethmore, this is Commander Chen. Are you prepared to discuss terms for your withdrawal from this system?" Kethmore looked around his damaged bridge. Half his crew was injured. His ship's weapons were offline. His shields were gone. The greatest fleet assembled in decades had been defeated by ships that were supposed to be primitive. What are you?" he asked quietly. The human's expression did not change. "We are exactly what we have always been, Admiral. You simply did not look closely enough to see." Commander Chen continued. "You may withdraw with your surviving ships. Take this message to your council. Earth is under the protection of humanity. Any further aggressive acts will be met with appropriate responses." The transmission ended, leaving Kethmore staring at empty space where human ships had been moments before. They had vanished as suddenly as they had appeared, leaving the battered Council fleet alone with their damaged pride and their impossible defeat. As his surviving ships limped toward the edge of the system, Kethmore tried to understand what had happened. Everything they thought they knew about human capabilities had been wrong. The question was, what else had they gotten wrong? The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in chaos. Representatives shouted at each other in a dozen different languages, while translation systems struggled to keep up. The Great Crystal Hall, usually a place of dignified debate, now resembled a marketplace in riot. Admiral Kethmore stood in the center of the circular table, his massive frame showing clear signs of battle damage. His natural armor was scorched and dented. His left arm hung in a support harness. Behind him, holographic displays showed the wreckage of his once mighty fleet. Council Speaker Veltar's ethereal form rippled with agitation. "Explain this disaster, Admiral. How did a primitive species destroy 70% of your fleet?" "They were not primitive," Kethmore replied, his deep voice carrying across the hall. "Nothing in our intelligence reports prepared us for what we encountered. Their ships moved like nothing I have ever seen. Their weapons cut through our shields as if they did not exist." The Quartzian representative, Krextal, struck the table with his crystal fist. "Impossible. Our sensors monitored human technology for decades. They use chemical rockets and metal projectiles. They have no energy weapons, no advanced propulsion, no shield technology. Then your sensors were wrong," Kethmore said bluntly. All eyes turned to Intelligence Coordinator Zixana of the Monitoring Guild. The insect-like creature's compound eyes reflected the accusatory stares of 12 different species. Her mandibles clicked nervously as she accessed data files. "Our monitoring protocols are proven reliable," she defended. "We have observed human ships for over 40 years. Every scan confirmed their primitive status. Chemical propulsion, electromagnetic communications, fusion-based weapons at most." Veltar's form darkened with anger. "Yet somehow these primitive humans defeated our most advanced fleet. Either our technology is worthless or your intelligence is catastrophically flawed." Zixana's multiple arms worked frantically at her control interfaces. Data streams flowed across holographic displays as she pulled up decades of surveillance records. Images of human ships appeared, showing crude vessels with visible engine exhausts and simple hull designs. "Look at this data," she insisted. "Human merchant vessel recorded 3 years ago near the Centauri trade routes. Chemical propulsion signature confirmed. Simple metal hull construction. No energy shielding detected." Admiral Kethmore moved closer to the displays, studying the images with his trained military eye. Something about the ships bothered him, but he could not identify what. "Show me more recent recordings," he ordered. More images appeared. Human exploration ships, transport vessels, and what appeared to be military patrol craft. All showed the same primitive characteristics. Simple designs, basic propulsion, no advanced technology visible. "Wait," said Kethmore slowly. "Show me that last image again." The display focused on a human military vessel recorded just 6 months earlier. It looked exactly like the crude ships in older records. Basic hull plating, visible engine systems, simple weapon mounts. These readings, Kethmore continued. The energy signatures from the engines. Show me the exact measurements. Zixana complied, displaying detailed sensor data. The human ship showed electromagnetic emissions consistent with fusion drives, heat signatures matching chemical propulsion systems, and power readings barely sufficient for basic life support. Now show me the energy readings from the ships that attacked my fleet. New data appeared alongside the old. The difference was staggering. The ships that had destroyed the Council fleet showed power signatures thousands of times stronger than anything in the historical records. Their weapons output exceeded the most advanced Council technology. "This makes no sense," whispered the Zephyrian representative, Kyleth. "No species advances this quickly. Technological development takes centuries, millennia even." Kethmore stared at the comparative data for several long moments. His military mind, trained to analyze enemy tactics, began to see a pattern that chilled him to his core. "They were lying to us," he said quietly. The hall fell silent. Even the translation systems stopped their electronic chattering. "What did you say?" Veltar demanded. Kethmore turned to face the Council, his scarred features grim with realization. The humans were deliberately broadcasting false technological signatures. Every ship we monitored was hiding its true capabilities. "That is impossible," Krextal protested. "Our sensors cannot be fooled by simple deception." "Can they not?" Kethmore challenged. "Show me a detailed scan of human ship hulls from our surveillance records." Zixana complied reluctantly. The displays showed cross-sectional views of human vessels, revealing internal structures that appeared simple and primitive. "Now show me the hull composition analysis." More data appeared. The analysis showed basic metal alloys, simple construction techniques, and no advanced materials. "These scans are too perfect," Kethmore realized. "Look at the uniformity of the readings. Every human ship shows exactly the same internal structure, exactly the same material composition, exactly the same technological level. What are the odds that an entire spacefaring civilization would have such identical ship designs?" The Council members began to understand. Across dozens of different human vessels, scanned over decades of observation, every single reading showed identical primitive characteristics. Real ships built by a developing civilization would show variation, improvement, experimentation. These readings showed none of that. "They projected false images," Veltar said, his ethereal form trembling with the implications. Every human ship that entered Council space was broadcasting fake sensor signatures while concealing its true nature. "But why?" asked the representative from the collective minds. "Why hide their advancement?" Admiral Kethmore's expression grew darker. "Because they were studying us. Every human merchant ship that visited our space stations was gathering intelligence. Every exploration vessel that requested navigation data was mapping our territories. Every diplomatic contact was learning our languages, our customs, our weaknesses." The horror of the situation began to sink in. For decades, while the Council had dismissed humanity as a primitive nuisance, human agents had been systematically studying galactic civilization. They had learned Council technology, tactics, and military capabilities, while keeping their own advancement completely hidden. Zixana's voice was barely a whisper. "How long have they been watching us?" "Long enough to surpass us," Kethmore replied. "The weapons that destroyed my fleet were not recently developed. The technology was too refined, too perfected. They have been building their true fleet for decades, possibly centuries, while letting us see only what they wanted us to see." Veltar's form flickered as he processed the implications. They could have revealed themselves at any time. They could have joined the Council as equals, or even demanded leadership based on their superior technology. "Why remain hidden?" "Because they were not ready," Kethmore explained. "Or perhaps because they were studying us to determine whether we could be trusted. Now we have given them their answer." The silence that followed was deafening. Every representative understood what had happened. The Galactic Council, the supreme authority in known space, had been observed and analyzed by a species they had considered beneath their notice. Humanity had watched them for decades, learning their strengths and weaknesses while preparing for the day when conflict became inevitable. And when that day came, they had been ready. "What do we do now?" asked Krextal, his crystal form dim with despair. Before anyone could answer, the communication systems activated. A new signal was being received, broadcast on all Council frequencies simultaneously. The central display showed a human face. Not Commander Chen from the battle, but an older man with gray hair and calm, intelligent eyes. Members of the Galactic Council, I am Ambassador David Harrison, speaking on behalf of the United Governments of Earth. We regret the misunderstanding that led to recent hostilities, but we cannot ignore unprovoked attacks on our sovereign territory. The human continued speaking while the Council sat in stunned silence. We wish to inform you that military action against Earth or any human colony will result in proportional response. We prefer peace, but we are prepared for any alternative you might choose. The transmission ended, leaving the Council alone with their shattered assumptions and the terrible knowledge that they were no longer the most powerful force in the galaxy. 3 weeks after Admiral Kethamor's defeat, the first reports began reaching Council space. Human fleets were appearing at the edges of established territories, moving with the same impossible grace that had destroyed the invasion force at Earth. Commander Velshan of the Hegemony Border Patrol was the first to encounter them. His squadron of 12 heavy cruisers had been investigating unusual sensor readings near the Rigel Junction, a strategic jump point that connected 5 different star systems. Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, reported his sensor officer. Single vessel, configuration unknown. Velshan studied the tactical display. The ship that appeared was unlike anything in Council databases. It was sleek and organic looking, about half the size of his flagship, but emanating power readings that made no sense. Hail them, Velshan ordered. The response came immediately. A human face appeared on screen, a woman with dark skin and serious eyes wearing what appeared to be a military uniform. Commander Velshan, this is Captain Maria Santos of the Earth Ship Determination. You are ordered to withdraw from this system immediately. Velshan's massive frame bristled with indignation. This is Hegemony space, human. You have no authority here. This system contains a military installation that was used to launch attacks against Earth. Captain Santos replied calmly. We are here to disable that installation. Your ships may withdraw safely or you may attempt to interfere. The choice is yours. Before Velshan could respond, his sensor officer spoke urgently. Sir, I am detecting massive energy buildup from the human ship. Power levels are beyond anything in our databases. Velshan made the same mistake that had cost Admiral Kethamor so dearly. He assumed that one small human ship could not threaten 12 hegemony cruisers. All ships, attack formation. Destroy the human vessel. The battle was over in minutes. The human ship moved like a living thing, dodging plasma cannon fire with impossible agility. Its weapons were precisely targeted beams of energy that sliced through hegemony shields and armor as if they were made of paper. But unlike the desperate fight at Earth, this human ship did not aim to kill. Instead, it systematically disabled each hegemony vessel. Weapons were destroyed with surgical precision. Engine systems were crippled with perfectly placed shots. Life support remained intact. Within 10 minutes, 12 proud hegemony cruisers floated helpless while the human ship moved past them toward the military station they had been guarding. Velshan watched in horror as the human vessel approached. Outpost Kalar, a massive defensive platform armed with planet-killing weapons. The station opened fire with every weapon it possessed. Energy beams, plasma torrents, and missile salvos filled space around the human ship. The human vessel simply phased through the attacks as if they were not there. What followed was not a battle but a demonstration. The human ship positioned itself above the station and fired a single beam downward. The beam passed through the station's shields without resistance and struck the main power core with perfect precision. The entire facility went dark instantly, its weapons offline, its defenses neutralized. No one on the station died. The human weapon had somehow disabled the facility without harming its crew. But the message was clear. Humanity could have destroyed the station and everyone on it, but chose not to. This pattern repeated across Council space over the following weeks. Human fleets appeared at military installations throughout the galaxy, systematically dismantling the Council's defensive infrastructure. Each engagement followed the same precise template: demands for withdrawal, brief combat if resistance was offered, and surgical neutralization of military assets with minimal casualties. The humans broadcast a simple message after each victory. This is proportional response to unprovoked attacks on Earth and human colonies. Military aggression will be met with military consequences. In the council chambers, panic began to set in. Representative after representative reported the same impossible story. Human fleets appearing without warning, defeating established defensive positions, and disappearing as quickly as they had come. "How many ships do they have?" demanded Quartzian Prime Krextal. Intelligence Coordinator Zixana worked frantically at her displays, trying to compile data from dozens of encounter reports. "The numbers do not make sense. We have recorded over 300 separate human vessels in the past month, but many appear to be the same ships appearing in different locations." "Explain," ordered Council Speaker Veltar. "Their ships can apparently travel faster than anything we have ever encountered." The same vessel observed disabling installations in the Vega system appeared at Proxima Centauri just 4 hours later. The distance between those systems should require at least 12 hours at maximum hyperspace velocity. Admiral Kethmore, still recovering from his wounds, studied the tactical reports with growing unease. "They are not just faster than us. They are demonstrating that they understand our defensive strategies better than we understand them ourselves." This was true. Each human attack targeted precisely the installations that would cause maximum disruption to Council military operations while avoiding civilian casualties. They struck communication centers, supply depots, and strategic jump points with surgical precision. It was as if they possessed complete intelligence on every aspect of Council military organization. "How is this possible?" asked Veltar. "They have been studying us for decades," Kethmore replied grimly. "Every human ship that visited Council space was gathering intelligence. They know our supply routes, our communication networks, our strategic vulnerabilities. They have prepared for this conflict far longer than we have. The most disturbing aspect of the human campaign was its restraint. Despite possessing weapons capable of destroying planets, humanity carefully limited its attacks to military targets. Even when Council forces resisted, human casualties were kept to the absolute minimum necessary to achieve their objectives. They could destroy our entire civilization," whispered Zephyrian war singer Kyleth. "But they choose not to. Why?" "Because they are demonstrating their power," Admiral Kethmore explained. "They want us to understand that our continued existence depends on their mercy." The message was becoming clear with each passing day. Humanity possessed technology far beyond anything the Council had achieved. Their ships were faster, their weapons more powerful, their tactics more sophisticated. They could have conquered the galaxy at any time, but they had chosen to remain hidden until the Council forced them to reveal themselves. Now they were showing the Council exactly what that meant. Reports continued to flood in. The strategic mining world of Kepler 442 saw its orbital defense platforms disabled by a single human cruiser. The military academy at Wolf 359 watched helplessly as human ships neutralized its training fleet without harming a single cadet. The fortress world of Gliese 6967C, considered impregnable by military analysts, found its defenses bypassed by human vessels that seemed to phase through solid matter. Each victory was accompanied by the same message: cease military aggression against humanity, or face continued consequences. "What do they want from us?" asked the representative from the collective minds, her jellyfish-like form pulsing with anxiety. The answer came sooner than expected. As the Council debated their increasingly limited options, a new transmission arrived. The same gray-haired human ambassador who had spoken after the initial defeat appeared on their screens. "Members of the Galactic Council, I am Ambassador David Harrison. We have demonstrated our ability to defend ourselves and respond to aggression. We now offer you a choice." The ambassador's calm voice carried across the silent chamber as he continued. "You may end all hostile actions against human territories and enter into peaceful negotiations with Earth, or you may continue your current path and face the full consequences of your decisions. We prefer peace, but we are prepared for war. The choice is entirely yours." The transmission ended, leaving the Council to contemplate a future they had never imagined, a galaxy where humanity held all the advantages, and the ancient Galactic Council was no longer the supreme authority in known space. 6 months after the vote to invade Earth, Ambassador David Harrison stood in the center of the Galactic Council chamber. His presence there was impossible according to every security protocol the Council had ever established. The chamber was located deep within a space station that existed in hyperspace, accessible only through carefully guarded jump gates. Yet the human had simply appeared. His ship had materialized inside the station's docking bay without triggering any sensors or alarms. Security footage showed him walking calmly through corridors that should have been impenetrable to any unauthorized visitor. When challenged by guards, he had politely asked for directions to the council chamber. Now he stood where only elected representatives were permitted, his simple Earth clothing a stark contrast to the elaborate robes and ceremonial armor worn by the alien delegates around him. Council Speaker Veltar's ethereal form flickered with nervous energy. "How did you get here?" Ambassador Harrison smiled, the expression somehow both friendly and unsettling. "The same way we have been getting everywhere for the past several centuries, Speaker Veltar. We walked through your front door." His words sent a chill through the assembled representatives. The implication was clear. If humans could enter the most secure facility in council space without detection, there was nowhere they could not go. "What do you want?" asked Quartzian Prime Krextel, his crystal voice sharp with fear. "To talk," Harrison replied simply. "Though I must admit we had hoped it would not come to this. We had hoped to remain unnoticed until you were ready to meet us as equals." Admiral Kethmore, his wounds still visible despite months of healing, leaned forward in his chair. "How long have you been watching us?" "Longer than you might think," Harrison said. "Human civilization discovered faster than light travel over 400 years ago. We began exploring the galaxy and encountered your various species almost immediately." Stunned silence filled the chamber. 400 years meant humans had possessed advanced technology since before some council species had achieved spaceflight. Harrison continued, "We observed your wars, your politics, your gradual formation of this council. We watched you establish territories and trade routes. We learned your languages, studied your cultures, and analyzed your technologies. Why did you not reveal yourselves?" demanded Veltar. "Because we were not certain you could be trusted," Harrison replied honestly. "Your history shows a pattern of dominant species subjugating weaker ones. When the ethereals conquered the galaxy 3,000 years ago, they absorbed or destroyed dozens of civilizations. The hegemony followed the same pattern in their expansion. Even this council was formed through military conquest disguised as diplomatic alliance. The accusations hung in the air like poisonous gas. No one could deny the truth of human observations. Galactic history was indeed a story of the strong dominating the weak. "So you hid from us," accused Kyleth, her golden feathers rustling with agitation. "We observed," Harrison corrected. "Every human ship that visited council space was gathering intelligence. We needed to understand what kind of civilization you were building before we decided whether to make contact." Intelligence Coordinator Zixana clicked her mandibles nervously. "Our sensors detected nothing unusual about your ships." "Because we did not want them to," Harrison explained. "Every vessel you scanned was broadcasting false technological signatures while concealing advanced scanning equipment, defensive systems, and weapons. We learned everything about your technology, while revealing nothing about ours." Admiral Kethmore's military mind grasped the implications immediately. "You have been preparing for war with us for centuries." "We have been preparing for every possible outcome," Harrison said. "War was always one possibility. We hoped for better." "What changed?" asked the representative from the collective minds. Harrison's expression grew sad. "You voted to invade Earth. Despite having no provocation, no territorial disputes, and no real understanding of human capabilities, you chose military aggression. That told us everything we needed to know about this council's character. The truth of it was undeniable. The council had indeed voted for invasion, based on nothing more than human expansion into unoccupied territories. No human action had threatened council worlds or citizens. No human declaration had challenged council authority. The decision had been made purely from arrogance and fear of competition. "What happens now?" Veltar asked quietly. Harrison walked to the center of the chamber, his movements casual and unthreatening. Yet every representative understood that he was probably the most dangerous being in the room. His people possessed technology that made council military might irrelevant. "That depends on you," Harrison said. "We can continue the current path. where human forces systematically dismantle your military infrastructure until you no longer pose a threat to anyone. Or we can try something different, such as partnership, Harrison replied. Real partnership, not the usual council model of dominant species ruling subordinate ones. We share technology, resources, and knowledge for mutual benefit. Krextal's crystal form rang like a bell as he shifted in agitation. Why would you help species that tried to destroy you? Because destruction serves no one, Harrison answered. Your species have developed art, music, literature, and philosophy over thousands of years. You have unique perspectives on science, mathematics, and the nature of existence. That knowledge has value that transcends political conflicts. He gestured to the assembled representatives. The ethereals understand energy manipulation in ways humans have never considered. Quartzian mathematics could revolutionize our computational systems. Zephyrian music theory reveals patterns in quantum mechanics that we missed completely. Every species here has something to contribute. And in return? Asked Veltar. We share what we have learned, Harrison said simply. Medical technology that could extend lifespans by centuries. Manufacturing techniques that could eliminate scarcity. Energy systems that could power civilizations for millennia. Transportation methods that could connect the entire galaxy. The offer was staggering. The technological advancement that humanity was promising would transform every species in the Council beyond recognition. There must be conditions, Admiral Kethmore said suspiciously. Only one, Harrison replied. No more wars of conquest. No more subjugation of developing species. No more expansion through military force. If you want new territories, you negotiate for them. If you have disputes, you resolve them peacefully. The simplicity of the condition was almost insulting. The Council had built its entire structure on the assumption that strength determined authority. Yet here was a species offering to share godlike technology in exchange for basic civilized behavior. How do we know you will not simply conquer us yourselves once we agree? Asked Kyleth. Harrison smiled again, and this time the expression was genuinely warm. Because we could have done that centuries ago. We have had the capability to conquer the entire galaxy since before your council existed. If domination was our goal, this conversation would not be taking place. The logic was unassailable. Humanity possessed the technological advantage to rule the galaxy absolutely. They had demonstrated this capability by systematically defeating council forces across known space. Yet they were offering partnership instead of surrender terms. You are asking us to trust you, Veltar observed. I am asking you to trust yourselves, Harrison corrected. To believe that your species are capable of growth, of change, of becoming something better than what you have been. We have watched you for centuries. We have seen your potential. The question is whether you can see it in yourselves. The chamber fell silent as representatives contemplated the choice before them. They could continue resisting, knowing that human technology made victory impossible. They could accept subjugation, trading independence for survival. Or they could take the unprecedented step of accepting partnership with a species that had every reason to view them as enemies. Veltar's ethereal form began to solidify as he reached his decision. What guarantees do we have that this partnership will be honored? The same guarantee you have always had, Harrison replied. The knowledge that your actions have consequences. We are offering cooperation because it serves our interests. If you prove untrustworthy, we will respond accordingly. It was not a threat, merely a statement of fact. Humanity had demonstrated their ability to respond to aggression. They were now demonstrating their willingness to respond to cooperation. The vote, when it came, was not unanimous like the decision to invade Earth. Several species chose to abstain, uncertain of this new reality. But the majority voted to accept humanity's offer of partnership. As Ambassador Harrison departed the council chamber, using the same mysterious method by which he had arrived, the representatives sat in stunned contemplation of what they had just experienced. The galaxy had changed forever. The species they had dismissed as primitive had revealed themselves as the most advanced civilization in known space. The war they had started in arrogance had ended with an offer of cooperation they had never imagined. The vote to invade Earth had indeed obliterated the Council's complacency. In its place, they now faced a future where humanity held all the advantages, but chose to share them instead of hoarding them.